Right, morning YouTube. So, welcome to the UK. It's rather chilly, it's rather frosty. It's about -6 where I am presently. So luckily I've got away with no snow. Now then, purpose of this video is twofold. One, I'm doing it as a request to a mate across the pond, old Jay, the modern minute man. We were talking a while back on Instagram and he just said, just do a little video of the kit you had back in the day. So my ear is DPM, and I thought, why not? Now, twofold reason is Jay has entered a competition being run by a channel in the US to mark 500,000 subscribers. Now the channel in question is Brent0331. It's all right, I'm just keeping an eye on the dog. And basically Jay has run a little scenario. He's done this kind of format before, and the idea is you are to show the gear and the equipment that you would take on a 3-day patrol, which is an LPOP, so that's an observation post, listening post patrol, and then there's a certain time limit for the entire video, and you have to do certain things. So you have to give out a salute report, and you also have to do a junk on the bunk kind of style, all your gear laid out, walk through, talk through. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a walkthrough, talk through from a British point of view on the gear that we had back in the day. So this is my gear and some of the gear that we used to use, so there's quite a bit just laid on the floor. But the thing is, this would be the kind of gear that I would take on this patrol if I was allowed to enter the competition. So, you know, if I was on that side of the pond, I would have definitely thrown my hat in. Unfortunately, I live in the UK, so we all know that we are not allowed anything that goes click, click, bang. Even harsh language over here is frowned upon. So, you know, I'm just putting this video into the mix to give our American cousins basically a look at the gear we had back in the day. I'm talking in a time before MTP, multicam, etc. No slick carrier plates, no mini chest rigs, none of that high speed, I want to be a Navy SEAL kind of rubbish. This is just good old-fashioned British infantry kit at the ground level. So anyway, enough of me waffling. And what I'll do is I'll just flick round and then I'll just give you a walkthrough, talk through of the gear that's laid out on the floor. So anyway, me out. Right gents, so I'll just pan round all the gear on the floor. So this is some of the gear that I used to use back in the day. Yeah, and most of it has been tweaked, modified by me, because I was lucky in the fact that I could actually use a sewing machine. My mother used to be a seamstress and she taught me how to use a machine. So, you know, and I'm talking in an era in the UK before everybody and his dog was a tailor and was making molly pouches and modifying bits of kit left, right and centre. So, you know, a lot of this stuff was hand stitched back in the day and then gone over with a machine at a later date. So what we're looking at, starting from the bottom up, a pair of Gary Gore-Tex gaiters, set of Ron Hill Traxxter bottoms. Yeah, these are worn like thermals. A Dutch merino wool Norwegian style shirt, shemag, 2 hats. One's a patrol cap, which is Dutch, which is the darker DPM, and the other one is a ripstop British jungle hat. There's a few items over there by the top of the smock. Coming down the smock itself is a private purchased smock, I'll go into that in a bit more. And then coming down is a set of windproof trousers. These are issued, but I've tweaked them a bit. And then we have a selection of map cases. Yeah, these are standard. And then some German tank gloves, a woolly hat, and then a few other bits around the outside of the smock. So what we'll start with, I'll go from the bottom up. So Gary Gore-Tex gaiters, always useful for those early mornings when there's a heavy dew presence on the ground when you're patrolling out your harbour area, your hide or whatever. Yeah, so instead of having soggy trouser bottoms, you'd have those on over your boots and then you'd be happy. So yeah, they were, hang on, who are these made by? There you go, mountain range, and they're Gore-Tex, they're a good piece of kit. And then the trousers themselves are issued Arctic Warfare windproof trousers. Now these are useful, they've got a velcro attachment at the bottom, so these were made easier to get your boots on and off. And then I've added a reinforced knee area with padding in it, so when you're down on your knee, which you seem to spend a lot of time when you're patrolling on either your left or your right knee, so that's an advantage. And then the pockets are slightly excuse me gents, quite large. Now back in my day, I mean, I'm proving how old this kit is, you can't see any slotted buttons, so that proves how old this kit is. So we used to go over the stitching, and then what we do with that was we would reinforce it with sniper tape, yeah. And then these pockets, all of them, they've all had a little loop on it, and then a carabiner can be clipped into there, and then your map cases or your notebooks or however you wanted would live into these pockets. So there's a version of a map case. This is a slightly larger one, made by the firm Ortlieb. This is just a good piece of kit, and then that would get folded over and stuck into your leg pocket. And then moving up from that, this was another style of popular map case back in the day, which just seems to have got the protractor stuck on it, so excuse me, let's get rid of that. So this one just folds out, and then you've got various pockets and stuff. You've got a pocket on the back, yeah, and then you've got this on the inside, and then when you open it up, you've got extra pockets on the inside for crib cards and stuff like that. So yeah, this was another one, and then the whole of that opens up into a map case, and it's just sliding around because it's on an IPK kit. And then that is Royal Artillery protractor. You just tape out the yards because nobody uses yards anymore. And then this is excuse me, this was the plastic insert out of an ammunition storage box. This used to break up the rounds. Now we used to use these, you could write on the back in Chinograph and permanent pens, yeah, and just use it as a quick notebook. And this piece of plastic here is the glow in the dark stuff that you just leave it in a light source, and that just glows virtually all night. And we used to slip that behind the maps, yeah, and then we could read the map without the aid of a torch. And then this here is a Ziploc bag that's been reinforced down the corners. Now I noticed in the competition loads of you guys love Ziploc bags, but none of you are doing this. This is just such a basic thing, and it saves the bag from blowing out. It also just gives it a little bit of extra longevity. So yeah, sniper tape, 100 mile an hour, call it what you will. We just used to wang it around the outside, and then that was job done. And then that folds up and goes into a leg pocket, or if you wanted to, you could stick it inside your combat jacket. It was entirely down to you. So we used to waterproof spray everything. We're talking jackets, trousers, webbing, Bergans, the whole 9 yards, just as an extra bit of security. And then moving up the trousers, you can see I've added a Belgian pocket onto the top here to match this one, so you could have a kit on the top. And then with the windproof trousers, they've got Velcro closings. Now in here I have got chapstick, lighter, bottle opener, and a pair of tick tweezers. They just tied in and they live there all the time. So as you can see, I've removed all the buttons from the trousers, and then I've stitched them down so I can run a belt through it. Now when I was in, lessons were being learnt from the first Gulf. So in the infantry, the stuff that was learnt was basically the after action reports from the Bravo 20 Special Forces patrol that went scud hunting, and they got bounced, and everybody knows the rest of it. Guys were killed, guys were captured, and one escaped. But stuff coming down to from that lessons were the use of a grab bag, which was an emergency bag that lived inside the top of your Bergan that you could just pull and then run with, and also the use of an escape belt and various other things. So this is my escape belt. Now people have done videos on this, but this isn't a new idea. But all it is like a traveller's belt that you put your money in, and then you can have money in this if you wanted. But there are also items of escape and evasion sear secreted into this belt. Now also other things, bear with me, Lou, take that over there. It's all right, I've got the dog with me. So other things that were done were by individuals were certain items of E&E kit were sewn into either your trousers or your combat jacket, or both. So you had small items of E&E kit like a button compass, a small flint and steel, water purification tablets, a small map, stuff like that was sewn into your combat jacket. Yeah, so it was on you all the time. You know, that's just lessons learnt from, unfortunately, guys getting compromised, killed and captured. And then the other thing I've done to these trousers is I've modded them. I've taken the braces off the old British Army NBC, and I've sewn them in here as a loop, so I can use the Russian Gorka system suspenders to pull my trousers up, basically, because when you add weight into these legs, they just ride down, and the British belt at the time was absolutely rubbish. Pants piece of kit. So that's basically the trousers. Then on the trousers is the standard brilliant piece of kit, Swiss Army knife, you know, the folding saw, the tweezers, and the other bits and bobs, scissors. So that was just a brilliant piece of kit. And then all I've done is there's a small glow-in-the-dark lanyard on it, and then that's in a homemade case. Simple as, you know. So anyway, that's the trousers. So moving up, without falling over, this is my smock. Now this is a private purchase smock from a firm here in the UK that is no longer in business, unfortunately, because if they were, they would just be romping away with kit. It's ridiculous. The firm in question is Special Air Sea Service. If you're British and you served in the late 80s, 90s and the thousands, you would have most likely gone shopping at this firm, because they were miles ahead of everybody else. They made everything from jackets, trousers, shirts, webbing pouches, belt systems, day sacks, ponchos, you name it, they made it. They also had an operational research unit that was making kit at the request of foreign governments. So the US Army Rangers used them. I believe that the US Army Rangers actually experimented with having a woodland style SAS smock. Now the jacket in question here is a Kit Carry Mark 1, and the differences on this are the top pockets and the bottom pockets are much larger than the issued SAS Arctic and the windproof smock that was available at the time. So and then there were mods. You could just say, I want these. They gave you a list of mods on their catalogue, and you would just cherry pick what you wanted, and then they would sew them on. So standard things on the jacket were, now I bought this before slotted buttons, so again all the buttons have been taped over, but you had an inside pen pocket liner to stop your pens from leaking, and then you had these nylon loops stitched all over the back of the jacket and down the arms. These were for attaching foliage, and then the pockets were slightly bigger. The arm pocket was slightly bigger. Now that one's useful because I can get into that pocket, I can get an emergency blanket and a combat tee. Yeah, they all came with woolen cuffs. Yeah, the hood was slightly larger. You had an inside pocket on both sides. And then I've just modified this over the time that I was in. So basically I've added foam padding into the elbows when you're down on your chest and using your arms for binos and other bits of kit. And then I added this at a later date. So this piece of kit here was taken off a Warrior Armoured Crewman's coverall set, and I've just used it to put my crib cards in for various taskings. So again, that would have a piece of glint tape behind it, so I wouldn't have to use a torch whilst I was patrolling. And then this cover here just stops it from shining. So yeah, and then virtually everyone and their dog tried to get hold of a wrist compass. So that's a Sunto one, most guys have got those. Yeah, and then you've got a selection of hand warmers. These are the ones you just throw away. These are the ones that you reboil in water. So when we were doing our rations, I boil in the bags, you'd throw that in as well, and then that would just go back to a liquid with a click button in it. And you use those for heating your sleeping bags up when it got really cold. And then other things I've done to it, I've added a compass pocket on the front, and then my torch is there on a bouncy cable, and I've got a whistle, torch, and then a battery taped to the torch. So there's actually two there, and then I've filtered it out. I've actually got green on that. Green or red, it really didn't matter. You know, if you were sitting on top of the map, you could see the features and you knew what you were looking at anyway. So yeah, and then extra pocket sewn onto the rank slide. So that used to have a mini bit lighter in it, and that would be hidden behind my rank tabs and whatever. And then other things are pacers. Now some guys like the ones with the beads like the Americans had. I've just added a ferrocerium rod to that, but my personal one choice was the clicker one, that you press the button and it would go round to like 999 and then go back to 0. Now unfortunately I haven't got one. I most likely go and buy one now that I've said it, and then I've got it, and they were always tied onto you. And then we've got a spoon. Everybody had a spoon on them. Yeah, and then behind that you can see is a can opener, always useful. And then this item here is a slightly larger E&E kit. Now, in the British Army, only the special forces and the aircrew types were issued with an E&E kit, but most guys went out and private purchased them. So this one here was made by a firm here in the UK called Survival Aids down in London. They made several. They made one in a tin, and then they made one in a plastic pouch that was see-through. Yeah, so this is the see-through one, and I've just made a case out of Cordura, and then I've added a pocket on the back. Now I've got a map of the area that I'm actually in. I've got a Fresnel lens, and then other items in here are, just bear with me, these are the cheat sheets that came with it, and all I've done is I've laminated it. I've photocopied those, and I've got them in several other kits. So these are just like your survival priorities. But, and then the contents of the kit is just everything. There's pen flare in there and extra bits. So it's slightly larger, but again, it fits in that pocket, not a problem. So there's that. That's a shell dressing pocket, the old days. And then what we used to do was we would put our blood group on the inside of that, you know, but at the time it didn't really matter. And then that item up there is a small ground to air panel, and then these are my two hats. Both of these have got orange on the inside with that, so there's that. This is my head torch. Now this is me, I just said, right, we need red, because most of the time we lived under the ground in a hole, and white light would just ruin your night vision. So I just went red, another red, red, some more red, and off. And basically all that is a sweet wrapper, a red one. I folded it over 3 times, and I've just whacked it on with sniper tape, and that's been on there forever and a day. And all I have to do with that is just change the batteries when it runs out. You know, it doesn't have to be posh, it doesn't have to be complicated, it just has to work. So yeah. Now this item here, this is an item of interest. Now I don't even know if these are made anymore. This is called a beta light. Now these were issued to the SF boys, and it's basically a tritium light source, which is the light source in a SUSAT sight on the Mark 1 first gen SA80s. It's got a shelf life of 10 or 15 years. This one's run out, and I've just kept it as an interest piece. And yeah, so this was a non-battery operated light source that you could use with your map kit, you know, and that's it. There are commercially available versions of this available. I don't even know, like I said, if this is still made or you can still get hold of it, but like Night Size do a little mini glow stick thing now. And then that's it. And then we've got homemade Gary Gore-Tex bags for admin in the bottom of your pockets. And then on this jacket here, I've got a pocket on the side which was sewn into the gap between the front pockets and the rear poacher's pocket. So this used to have secateurs and a folding saw in it, an Opinella one, the wooden French one that used to live in there. And then I picked the stitching out so I could put another mag in it, so I could have 2 SA80 mags on the person at a time. So on this side here, there's the other pocket, and then if I just flip it up, there's the rear poacher's pocket, yeah, buttoned on the outside. And then this in here is a DPM homemade zoot suit top, yeah. Now if you're wondering, if you're thinking that jacket looks familiar, most of your NATO troops now, like your Germans and your French, run around with an Arctis or a Leo Kessler jacket that is a copy of this. This was the Mark 1. SAS in Lancaster went on to redevelop this jacket and then have pockets all the way around the back of it. So you had 5 pockets on the back of this jacket. So I think in total, if you had it with all their pockets on, you actually had a combat jacket that had 14 pockets on it, you know, and then you would do whatever you wanted to it. So yeah, basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause, and then I'm just going to go into my ground to air panel. So bear with me whilst I just get that out. I'll make some room first. So anyway, right gents, so what we're looking at is a homemade ground to air panel. So basically it's been made out of one of my lad's little toys, basically, which he damaged, and because of the very bright material on it, I thought, hello, I can make that into a ground to air panel that I can get into my kit and take out when I go out in the hills, basically, because getting hold of a VS17 panel here in the UK is absolutely stupid. Prices are sort of like in the 50-60 quid mark, so we're having a bit of a laugh there. So basically all I've done is I've sewn a slot here that I can stick it onto a stick and tie it down. And then if I just pull it all out, you've got an orange and a yellow bit, and then that's on the same side. So there's the bit for your stick to go into, yeah, and that's basically it. And then it all folds down into that small pouch. So that is the RAF's issued small signalling mirror. It's made out of metal. This is one of those SA Azula kind of cards that's got the useful information. So that, in conjunction with the survival cheat sheets in the back of my E&E kit, you're slightly on it, because if you get into an E&E situation, your brain's going to be going at 1,000 miles an hour, and you just need to slow yourself down and collect your thoughts and your wits. So these two items will help in that. There's a very loud whistle, and the batteries for the Guardian strobe light are actually taped onto that, and then that is a 4-inch chem light that can be used as a buzz saw. So that's got the strap around it, and then the case itself is just made out of 1000D Cordura, and then all of that fits into that, and then that gets lanyarded into any pocket that I want to stick it in. So leg pocket, smock pocket, it don't really matter, as long as you've got it in on you, you're good to go. So basically, gents, that is just a little overview and a little taste of the kind of gear that guys back in my day were just getting on and doing the job with. So hopefully this video's been of interest to you. And yeah, so basically anything that's useful to you, fill your boots. You can find me on Instagram if you want as well, and I'll be more than willing to just say, you know, this is what, just to help people out. That's what it's all about. The Instagram and the YouTube community is pretty good on helping each other out. So anyway, that's enough from me. Good luck to the contestants in Brent's competition. I'd be interested in seeing the, I believe, 30 entries. I've seen about 15 of them, and they've all been pretty good. Of the ones I've seen, I've got a rough idea who I think would win it, but I haven't seen the others. So anyway, enough of me waffling, and I need a coffee, and hopefully I'll walk you around it again. Anyway, gents, that's enough of me, so I'll leave you to it. Have a good day. Mikey Mitch out.